Hello, Captains. This is the Doctor, and welcome to another video exploring a fleet holding in Star Trek Online. So up to this point, we have now looked at 3 other fleet holdings. We started with the Starbase. It has ship weapons, ship shields, deflectors, impulse engines, ground weapons, personal shields, and elite carrier pets. Then we went on to the Fleet Embassy. It has weapon signature nullifiers and amplifiers, kit frames, kit modules, and Romulan bridge officers. And then we checked out the dilithium mine. It has fleet warp cores, fleet singularity cores, advanced engineering armor consoles, and advanced engineering RCS consoles. All 3 also had unique uniforms for each one, and this following one we're about to explore also will have a unique uniform in the Tailor store. It's now time to explore the Fleet Spire. The Fleet Spire came out in November of 2013. That's when we got the Fleet Spire. It is obviously part of the whole Dyson Sphere stuffs. So if you go to your mission content, for example, and you go to the Solanae Dyson Sphere section, this was basically around when the Spire was introduced. It's dealing with all of that Dyson Sphere stuff. The Spire is inside the Dyson Sphere. It's one of the buildings inside the huge Dyson Sphere, and we get to use it as our fleet to have unique items and that sort of thing. Pay attention to some of the things here available in the Spire, because there are some good things here in the Fleet Spire. Some very good things. Common things that people will definitely use to increase their DPS. I'm going to show you some tactical consoles that are an absolute must-have if you want to do damage in this game. Also, there are plasma integrated warp cores that are, again, a must-have. There are also some kit frames and kit modules as well. In fact, the Spire is where I go to get all my kit frames on all my characters. Their kit frames are all from the Spire. So without further ado, let's just go straight there, and I will show you the wonders that live inside the Fleet Spire. Yeah, this is a really good one, really worth it. You know, I forgot to show you the holding in the UI. Let me just bring it up real quick. We go to Holdings. Spire is what it's called, and you'll see it's a tier 3. Goes up to 1, 2, 3 in Spire, goes up to 1, 2, 3 in Research, and 1, 2, 3 in Operations. So this is not a tier 5 Starbase, but a tier 3. So far, the only one that goes up to tier 5 is the Fleet Starbase. Everything else has been up to tier 3, and that does continue even on K13. It is also only tier 3. So pretty much the only tier 5 fleet holding thing in this game is the Starbase. Everything else is tier 3. Now you can transwarp there. Yes, there's a transwarp. We go to Fleet Solanae Dyson Sphere Spire. This would be the absolute best way to get there. It takes you straight to it, and then you just beam straight down onto your Spire. But I'm going to show you where it's at actually in space, in case you want to fly there manually. Takes a little bit of time to get there because it is inside the Dyson Sphere, so you not only have to fly to the Dyson Sphere gateway, but you have to enter it and then go to a whole new place once you're in there. So we're going to fly to the Dyson Sphere gateway under the Azure sector. Let my ship right itself, and then we'll hit slipstream. almost made it all the way there. So when we get to the Dyson Sphere Gateway, what you want to do is you want to travel to the Solanae Dyson Sphere. You don't want to go to the Delta Quadrant. That's the Janolan Dyson Sphere. You want to go to the Solanae Dyson Sphere. And then once we get inside the Dyson Sphere, this is the portal, of course. This is an open social zone. Everybody from the game congregates in here. Now, if you were to go to this one, this is the Dyson Joint Command. This is not your Fleet Spire, so don't confuse the two. This is for all the missioning that you're going to do here in the Dyson Sphere. But what you want is your specific Fleet Spire. So if you bring up the map, you will see that it says, it should tell you which direction it is in. And I think it's this way, yeah, to Fleet Spire. So see, we've entered here at the gate going forward. All we need to do is hang a left toward this wall right here. Literally, that's all we need to do. Just hang a left toward this wall, hit maximum impulse, and then we'll hit the border of it, and it will ask you if you want to go to your Fleet Spire, and then you say yes. So just a little bit more confusing than other fleet star bases. That's why the Transwarp 2 is so much quicker to use to get there. I'll demonstrate the Transwarp 2 on the Klingon side, because I'll just transwarp straight there once we switch over to the Klingon side, and I'll show you that, because it's just so much simpler. It takes you straight there, and then all you gotta do is beam straight down. Definitely saves a lot of time to transwarp there. And sometimes you have a long load like this. And here it is. We are now in our own self-contained little area. This is not an open social zone. Only people from your fleet can come in here. But you can invite people even outside your fleet to come in here. So this is our own fleet little spire here. Traffic control, dock at Spire. And now we'll be beamed down to our Fleet Spire. And this is it. This is the Fleet Spire. Very purple. Very purple. Let me show you a cool thing. We can come to this console here, and I can open the balcony doors. Cool. And then I can actually walk out onto these balcony doors and just look outside of the Dyson Sphere. Just imagine how huge this place is. It's amazing. So that's kind of a cool thing to do there. Now down here is where you'll find all your things like your mail access, your bank access. You can activate the orrery, which I believe is this thing here. Yeah, and it gives like a big map or something. There you go. It's like a map of, you know, supposedly what's going on around all the contested zones and everything. It doesn't really tell you a whole lot, but there it is anyway. You've got the exchange here and the orrery again. So basically you've got everything you need here to spend some time here and upgrade and do the things you need to do. Now let's go find the important stuff. The first place you want to go is right here by this holographic ship and this Ferengi right here, because he has stuff you want, trust me. Requisition space equipment. This is where you will find your not only your Thoron infused warp cores and all that, but this is where you find your vulnerability locators and your vulnerability exploiters. This is what I was talking about in terms of tactical consoles. These consoles are incredibly important. If you want to do damage in this game, you want these consoles. Now, they come at Mark 12 Ultra Rare, and they are upgradable to Mark 14 Epic. You do not gain any modifiers when you take them to Epic, but they do go to Epic for extra damage and chance or severity. So what is a vulnerability locator? It basically means a higher critical chance. What is a vulnerability exploiter? It basically means a higher critical severity. That's it. That's the difference between the two. And then each one has attached to it whatever specific energy weapon damage you want to buff. So the tactical vulnerability locators each one gives you a plus 1.6% critical chance improvement on your ship. They do stack, and all of them are the same in terms of the same critical chance. But then what's added to that is basically the type or energy type you want to buff. So with beams, you can just get a flat plus 27.9% beam weapon damage buff, or a cannon weapon damage buff, or a mine weapon damage buff, or a torpedo weapon damage buff. And then it goes into the specific energy types. Anti-proton damage, plus 31.9% anti-proton damage. That is very high. That's a lot higher than if you buy like the mag regulator, for example, off the exchange, which also does anti-proton damage improvement on your TAC consoles, but it is much less. So these give a much higher energy damage than energy-specific consoles from the exchange. You've got anti-proton, you've got a chronoton buff, and all of the buffs are the same percentage. And of course, it increases, like I said, when you have Mark 14 Epic, it goes higher. You have disruptor and photon and phaser and plasma torp, plasma projectile weapon damage, polaron and quantum and tetrion and transphasic and tricobalt. So you have all the energy types plus a heightened critical hit chance. Now you have, on the other side of the coin, you have the vulnerability exploiter. It's the same thing, but critical severity. So a plus 8% critical severity, pretty high actually. And then you add to that beam weapon damage, or cannon, or mine, or torpedo, or anti-proton damage, and it's the same energy damage as that other one up above, plus 31.9, and on and on and on, the exact same stuff. So what you got to decide is, do you want more crit chance or more crit severity for your build? Now, that is going to completely depend on your build. Completely going to depend on your build. A lot of people will choose to use their TAC consoles to boost critical severity. A lot of people will choose to use their consoles to boost critical chance and put critical severity into other areas. I personally use my TAC consoles to increase critical chance, and I put my critical severity in other areas, like ship weapon modifiers is where I go with more crits and other things. I also have a console that boosts critical chance and severity based on auxiliary damage. Plus there's the Nukara trait, which will also boost that stuff based on auxiliary damage as well. So I choose to use the vulnerability locators most of all, unless I have like a whole lot of TAC consoles. Like if I've got 5 TAC consoles or something like that, then I might put 3 critical hit chance and 2 severities in there, just to kind of mix it up and give as much as I can to both of those. Really, it's going to completely depend on your build. Very much going to depend on that. But pretty much people are favoring the vulnerability locators over the vulnerability exploiters. It may sound good to put a lot of severity into your TAC consoles, but that maybe should come from other means, and you should maybe leave the vulnerability locators to your TAC consoles. I'm just saying, a lot of people, a lot of the DPSers today prefer the vulnerability locators over the vulnerability exploiters. But it's here anyway. You've got the options for both. You can see the cost: 50,000 fleet credits for one of them, 8,500 dilithium. So they're not particularly cheap, but you definitely want to maximize all of your TAC consoles with them. So for example, here's my ship that I'm using right now, and the only reason I don't have all of mine maxed out with them is because I'm trying a new build on this ship. It's a weird kind of ship, and it has so many science consoles and whatever. Anyway, what I've done is I've got 3 vulnerability locators on this ship now. Normally I would have 4, or however many TAC consoles there are. And you can see when you upgrade them to Mark 14 Epic, it goes up to a 1.9% critical chance and a 37.5% whatever energy damage, and they stack. So that's what you want. If you want DPS, if you're building a DPS build, you want Mark 14 Epic vulnerability locators of the specific energy type that you're using on your ship, and you want all of the tactical slots maxed out in that ultimately. So that's one thing that you want to come to the Spire to definitely get. You do not underestimate. These are extremely important. Extremely important. Okay, so let's move on to the warp cores. You've got, again, advanced fleet warp cores or elite fleet warp cores. Now what's different from the dilithium mine is that these are singularity. Okay, so we have advanced fleet and elite fleet. What makes these different from the dilithium store is that these are plasma integrated warp cores. And I was looking at the price just now, and I was remembering in the last video I said these were more expensive than the dilithium ones, and I'm actually looking at the price now. They're not as expensive as I thought they were. For some reason I thought they were like 100,000 fleet credits. I was completely wrong. They are the same amount of fleet credits, if I'm not mistaken, as the dilithium mine ones. So there you go, 14,000 fleet credits for the elite ones, or 10,000 for the advanced ones. So these are not as expensive as I thought, so I apologize for that. These are very affordable warp cores. Now, what makes it a plasma integrated warp core? What's that? Well, advanced plasma integrated warp cores increase the drain resistance of all energy pools by 15% and increase the base transfer rate of all energy pools by 66%. So basically, it resists energy drain of each subsystem, as well as increases the transfer rate of each subsystem, basically negating almost the need for an EPS console. So these are very good warp cores. These are better than the dilithium mine warp cores. These are what you want if you can ultimately, get a good warp core, and they do have AMP. So you get the best of all worlds out of these: an elite fleet plasma integrated warp core with AMP, and then the other modifiers that affect what you need. This is the way to go on a warp core. If you're not going to go with a reputation warp core, then you want to go with an elite fleet plasma integrated warp core with AMP, and then the other modifiers that can help you out. Whatever modifiers will help your build. And there's a ton of options here. I'm not going to go through each one because, again, just like the dilithium mine, it would take forever. But what you do is you just hover over these and see what they got, like auxiliary to shield, EFF, EWS, SCAP, SSR. You just have to look at each one and read the description here and kind of figure out what each one corresponds to and what each one does. But I would definitely weed out the ones with AMP and look under those. So here's an AMP. That's engines to auxiliary. I would probably do, that's shields to weapons. This one's not bad. Shields to weapons, AMP, and a weapons capacity power buff. So this one is a pretty good option right here. I was looking for something to auxiliary, but I guess shields to auxiliary. Here we go. AMP, shields to auxiliary, and an auxiliary power buff. So here you go. I'd look at these two are pretty good here. So this one is A cap. That means it's an auxiliary power buff. That's basically a battery that's going to give you extra auxiliary power. Then it's got amp, so it's got the 3.3% all damage per subsystem. And then it's got shields to auxiliary, which means it's going to transfer. It doesn't transfer power from your shields. It just means that it's going to take whatever percentage your shields is at, it's going to take a percentage of power and add it to your auxiliary, but it does not take away from the shields. That may confuse some people. Some people think that means it's taking power away from the shields to add to auxiliary, but no, that's not what that means. It doesn't take that power away. It just adds 7.5% of your shield power to your aux power as bonus power. That's simply it. So this one's good here. I like this one. And then I also like the weapon cap one, this one here. So these two right here are kind of my preferred ones if I were going to fly a ship. One with extra aux power and then one with extra weapon power. So I might put this one on an escort. I might put this one on a science and a cruiser. These two right here are good. So kind of look at that and you can see, you know, what's available and what's out there. So these cores, they've also got, of course, the equivalent in the Romulan Singularity, Advanced Fleet Thoron Infused Singularity Core, and Elite Fleet Thoron Infused Singularity Core is the same thing. Increased resistance and regeneration of all power levels. So same thing, just like the plasma infused ones, except for the Romulans. So they have those options too, and they also have amp down here as well, options on these too. So you can definitely find that. So as you can see, this is the place to go to get the absolute best warp cores. Now we come to the Spire hangar pets. Remember, the Fleet Starbase had hangar pets. The Spire has some unique ones as well that are related specifically to this ship that's being displayed up here. The ones that come with the Obelisk swarmers. This is where you go to get your Obelisk swarmers for that ship. And they've got the rare ones, very rare and ultra rare, and of course they're very expensive, 100,000 fleet credits, but they're going to be your best bet for elite Obelisk swarmers. Focused anti-proton array, transphasic torpedo, elite anti-proton defense array, beam array, overload 3. Launch elite Obelisk swarmers. Obviously this is only going to work on ships that support this. Can be launched from any flight deck cruiser, so maybe this does work on any of them. This is from any flight deck cruiser or carrier, it says. So it's not limited to just the Obelisk. That's good to know. So you can come here for some elite Obelisk swarmers if you like that. So this little Ferengi right here has some great stuff in the Spire. You will come here and just enjoy all of that. This is definitely the first place you want to come to get your TAC consoles, and then again for the warp core. It's really going to help you. Now with some ground stuff over here. Like I said, they've got some kit frames and modules as well, just like the Embassy had. And this is where I come to get all my kit frames. So you've got engineering, science, and tactical. Under engineering, you have a kit frame. Here we go. You've got a Mark 12 here, engineering kit frame, Mark 12. K-perf ×2, PSG, and weapon damage. And they all have the same. So science kit is also the same, K-perf ×2, PSG, weapon damage, and then tactical kit is also K-perf ×2, PSG, weapon damage. That means it improves ground weapons. That's weapon proficiency improvement on ground. It improves ground shields. That's more shield capacity on ground. And it improves all kit modules as well. And these are upgradable as well to Mark 14 Epic. And you will see that I am using one right here, straight from the Fleet Spire. This is the Science Kit Mark 14. I've upgraded it to Mark 14 Epic. And you can see at Mark 14 Epic, it's a plus 60 weapon proficiency, and a plus 30 personal shield, and a plus 90 kit performance. So it does affect things like your personal shield strength. For example, my shield strength is at 693 right now, so without this, for example, 654. So you can see those numbers directly affect your abilities and things. That's that plus 30 ground shield. And then it's got a plus 90 kit performance and a plus 60 weapon proficiency. So the Fleet Spire is where I come to get those kit frames and use that until I find something better. This is a good resource for that. And then there's also kit modules here. Just like the Embassy has some modules for you, the Spire has some different modules as well. If you want to come here, you can get a shield generator or a chronoton mine barrier from the Spire. So a shield generator, I mean, you know what that is. It's going to generate a shield, and a mine barrier is just a chronoton mine barrier. Under science, you've got a sonic pulse and the medical tricorder. So let's say you do want some good healing on your character and you're a science character, here's where you can get a good medical tricorder. And these are upgradable as well, I think. And then for tactical, you've got lunge and rally cry. I like rally cry a lot. I like that pretty much on all my tactical characters. So the Spire is where you can come to get that power. So load up on modules, load up on your kit frame, and you're good to go on ground. So Spire, a good resource for ground as well. Now we have requisition ship or select ship from here if you needed those things. I don't think there's anything this way. Yeah, it's just an empty room. This is in the Dyson Sphere. This is where the Romulan works, but there's nothing here for us on the Fleet Spire. I don't think there's anything up here either. There's the Omega, but other than that, yeah, there's really nothing up there. And then we come to the bar area. There's also nothing this way either. Now in the bar area, we've got some, I think these should be replicators, but can't access them. It wouldn't be a fleet area if it didn't have some kind of DOF stuff, right? So requisition personnel. You basically have Voth duty officers here. Obviously, this is dealing with the Voth in this storyline. So we have Voth duty officers to choose from. If you're into that kind of thing, you can get yourself some of those. Active ground duty officer slot and active space duty officer slot. So again, if you're really into duty officer stuff and you do use duty officers to buff yourself, active space and active ground powers, you can increase those slots by +1. It's going to cost 150,000 fleet credits to do that, but doffing or using DOFs in active duty is very important. Especially for DPSers. Everybody knows if you use the right DOFs for active space and active ground abilities, it really can help stuff. And it can help reduce like recharge times on powers and stuff like that too. So I'll just show you again where that's at real quick. If you go to duty officers, what I'm talking about is of course the I'm talking about, where do you go here? Roster. That's what I'm talking about. Active space and active ground. So you can see I've got 5 active space duty officers doing stuff right now, and then 5 active ground officers doing stuff right now. Like I've got a ground warfare specialist against the Borg. I've got explosive expert ground, chance for exothermic induction field to fire projectiles, a geologist on the ground, chance to reduce cooldown on exothermic induction field. I've got adds a damage resistance debuff when most science kit debuffs are applied, and I got on use of medical tricorder or vascular regenerator, chance to increase your maximum hit points. And then in space, I've got a chance for beam overload to cause all attacks against the target to gain a 30% shield penetration. I've got a chance to add power to all subsystems. I've got a chance of temporarily improving your ship power on use of any emergency power ability. I've got a chance to gain aux power when activating exotic damage, and I got a chance to create an aftershock gravity well. So these are my active DOF space and ground abilities, and you're only allowed 5 active ones, but coming to the Spire you can increase that by +1. Again, it's very expensive to do, but it's something you can do so you can have more active doffs on your ship or ground. So that's important. Then we come to the Tailor service. This is where you get your Dyson Sphere research outfit. 8,000 fleet credits, 13,600 dilithium. You get a Dyson Sphere Researcher glasses, Dyson Sphere Researcher jacket, short and long, Dyson Sphere Researcher gloves, Dyson Sphere Researcher pants plus skirt, Dyson Sphere Researcher gloves, Dyson Sphere Researcher glasses. Well, that's a bit redundant. And if you'll notice, that's exactly what I've been wearing this whole time. This is the Dyson outfit. Let me go into the Tailor. It's probably a little bit easier to see if we actually go into the Tailor here. But this is what I've been wearing this whole time. Here's the glasses. This is the jacket long. And the belt and the boots and the gloves. This is the whole setup right here. I really like this uniform. One of my favorite uniforms that I have, actually. I like it a lot. So that is definitely something that you can get here at the Spire as well and look a little unique. And let me show you the short jacket real quick. Where are you at? I don't think I have a short jacket option. Let me just modify real quick. I can throw one on. If I could find it. Here we go. So here's the short jacket, Dyson Sphere uniform, short jacket. Uniform 2, there's 2 different variants, one closed, one open. Then you've got long closed or long open. So those are the 2 jacket variants on that. And then of course you've got the pants, the tight pants, the Dyson Sphere boots, belts. I don't know if there is one. I don't think so. It's kind of part of the jacket, really. If you go to head, this is where you'll find the glasses. Dyson Sphere glasses. That's what I'm wearing here. So that just shows you what you can get from the Tailor in the Fleet Spire. I think it's a pretty cool looking uniform. And that's pretty much it, everybody. That's the Fleet Spire. So what you want to come here for is Plasma Integrated Warp Cores, Elite Plasma Integrated Warp Cores, your Vulnerability Locator or Exploiter, Kit Frame, and Kit Modules. And of course your Dyson Sphere uniform if you want to wear the Dyson Sphere Researcher uniform as well. That's what this place is for. Some very good stuff here at the Spire. I'm just going to switch around to the Klingon side real quick, and we'll take a look at it from that side. Pretty much exactly the same, I believe. And I'll show you how you can transwarp there. Fleet Solanae Dyson Sphere Spire and transwarp. And then it'll just take us straight there, and all we'll have to do is beam down. It's a whole lot quicker just to do it this way. That is, if it ever loads. Here we go. Now we're straight at our Spire, and we can just beam right down. Before I beam down, though, let me show you on this ship how I've got my TAC consoles. Now on this one, There was a time when I went with vulnerability exploiters instead of locators at first. So on this ship, it's kind of mixed at the moment. I've got 2 vulnerability exploiters and 2 locators. In hindsight, I would probably change this around to 4 locators. But still, halving it like that is also not a bad idea. You could just half it that way. 2 exploiters and 2 locators, and your crit chance and crit severity are both increased that way. I don't know on this ship I don't know what they are on this ship. Actually pretty good. 104% crit severity and 10% crit chance. So I mean, that's not too bad. So you can see how that directly would affect your crit chance, crit severity. Also how it affects your energy damage. All of them give me an anti-proton damage boost on this ship because I'm using anti-protons. So that's excuse me, that's important there, as you want to use the same energy type and just max out your TAC consoles, you know, with that specific energy type. So here we are on the Fleet Spire on the Klingon side, and it's the same except red. Pretty much the same thing. If you go to the uniform option, you're going to get the same Dyson Sphere Researcher outfit. Nothing different at all on the Klingon side in terms of that outfit. I don't think I have it on this character to demonstrate it. No, I don't. But you can get it exactly the same as Federation. You can also get the same Voth duty officers from here as well. And of course, increase your duty officer slots. And then everything should be pretty much the same. You should have, you know, your same vulnerability locators, same exploiters, advanced fleet plasma integrated warp cores, or elite plasma integrated, or singularity cores, or the Spire Obelisk swarmers. And then the same thing on ground as well. Same kit modules and kit frames here as well. Nothing different at all on the Klingon side. Requisition ship, select ship. So pretty much all the same on the Klingon side. It's just red. And obviously if you're a Romulan, it's just going to depend on what side you've aligned with. And that's pretty much it. Well, everybody, that is the Fleet Spire tour on both Federation and Klingon side. You can see that the Fleet Spire is a valuable resource for warp cores, for tactical consoles on your ship, for kit frames and kit modules, and of course a Dyson Sphere Researcher outfit as well, and Voth DOFs if you need that, and the ability to increase active space and ground DOF positions as well if you want to add those to your ship or ground. So that can help make you more powerful as well by adding more of those active DOFing things. So there you go. That's the Fleet Spire. I quite like it. I come here for all that stuff, and my ship runs all that stuff. Very good resource for things. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Stay tuned, and in the next one we're going to hit up the Krenim Research Lab. That's right, we're already at the Krenim Research Lab. That comes up next. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.